What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Competitive Standard 40K. Today we're going to talk about deployment again, and in our first video of the Tactical Tips and Tricks series, we talked about the overall picture of deployment, 6 things you want to keep in mind as part of a checklist. And today we're going to cover the first one of those, which was identifying playstyles. So I'm going to go through 4 different army playstyles and do a mock-up deployment of each one of those to give you an example of how they might deploy and also what their strengths and weaknesses are. So be sure to check it out. Alright, so first up today we've got the castle, and the castle is an army that's traditionally clustered around several key auras or characters. In this case, you'll see at the center is the ethereal and the town commander. Now they both have 6-inch auras that are very important to the army functioning. The ethereal has the feel no pain. The commander can do various movement tricks such as advance and shoot or fall back and shoot, and also reroll ones if the army stays stationary. So the army begins clustered up around these key characters. And there's movement later in the game that they can kind of spread out, but for at least a few turns you know that they want to stay together. And you'll see where they position themselves offers them line of sight to most of the board. Being a castle does limit certain angles. So you can see you can get to other sides, but they might want to put parts of their army in the corners. So in these 2 top left and top right corners, we've got the ghost kills forward deployed, but the core of the army is this castle here. And so you see the drones in the back. They complement the kind of defensive buffs that the ethereal are giving the entire army. The key units, which are the riptides, the broadsides, they're all within 6 inches of the most important aura giving units, which are again the ethereal and the commander. So right here we're showing that you can deploy in such a way where everything is clustered to get within 6 inches, which is effectively a 12-inch bubble around those 2 characters. So up next we have the MSU, which is the multiple scoring units, or multiple small units build, which is generally a Space Marine force. And the key advantage here is that the army doesn't need to be castled up, but it can spread out. So although, like you'll see here, parts of the army will cluster together perhaps in the beginning around those 2 characters, you can forward deploy with these Invictor warsuits here, with an aggressor squad. In the corner you'll see that there are eliminators, infiltrators, a lone centurion squad. The advantage here is that there are no key auras that are required to make most of the units function, and so you're able to deploy very spread out because the units themselves are pretty independent. So you'll see in this way that the army is distributed pretty evenly across the spread of objectives so that they can get to where they want to go without worrying about it. So although you might start in this kind of a small aura cluster here, it's not key for the functioning of the entire army, and you're able to threaten both the top, the center, the far right objective from the get-go. So that a Centurion squad, for example, can operate independently and go achieve some objectives on the right side. The independence of the units in this army is what makes it so powerful. Alright, so up next we have the mobile and reactive style forces. In this case, it's a Harlequin army. Now the key strength here is that the army has so much mobility that depending on where they deploy doesn't necessarily dictate where the late game positioning is, because they have speed and redeploy tricks to get where they want. So if we look at this one squad right here, this 3-man bike unit, they might start in the bottom right corner, but they could end up in the top left corner within the first turn movement or after a redeploy. So the army might cluster behind a rune to start or behind an aura of a Shadow Seer per se, but that doesn't dictate their positioning. So we have some redeploy strats we'd like to talk about. If the army takes a positioning that's very aggressive like this, hoping to go first, that could burn them if they don't end up going first. So instead, they could reposition to the top left corner of the screen using their redeploy stratagem. But if this is also untenable position because it's too aggressive, they could pull the entire army back behind that rune to play it safe if they go second. So again, it's the natural speed and the ability to redeploy that makes this style army so powerful. Last but not least is the board control style armies. So here we've got a Nurgle army consisting of 60 plague bearers and several units of Nurglings. Now the strength here is that you can fill the board with tons of models that are either obsec, durable, or both. And in this case, the high model count and durability of the army lets you contest or control multiple objectives. And here we've seen the Nurglings who can forward deploy on both sides of the army, which kind of increases the board control aspect of it. So the forward deploying nature, the obsec nature, all of these things consist of an army that is going to be able to get onto multiple objectives and have the staying power to remain there. And we also see there are some threats there in the Demon Princes and the Great Unclean One.
Thanks for watching, guys. That's it for the Tactical Tips and Tricks series. Hope you enjoyed part 1, identifying playstyles. We've got 5 more parts coming out soon. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. We really appreciate the support. And we've got more battle reports and tactical videos coming for you soon. Have a good one and stay competitive.